Today's talk is on enthusiastic effort. It is the fourth paramita, or transcendent virtue. And I've already talked about the second and the third one. Because of a technical difficulty, I did not talk about the first, which is generosity. But I will get to that at a future date. But to start out with here, I am going to kind of briefly review how the first three perfections relate to enthusiastic effort or diligence. And the sequence is actually quite important. The sixth perfection is wisdom. And in order to develop wisdom, we need to develop the other five perfections. So we start by practicing generosity. And this is a way to lessen our attachment to material things and to become more willing to help others. What generosity basically means is being willing to give others material things. It means being willing to give other people protection from fear and so forth, give them comfort. It also means being willing to give them what you can of your understanding of the Dharma, because this is extremely generous, as the Dharma helps free one from suffering. And as we practice generosity, then we develop less attachment to the material things and experiences and so forth. And we develop a certain spaciousness that we did not have before. And we start caring about others more than we had before as we practice generosity. And this is really the foundation for discipline. Because we have lessened, even if it's only a little bit, our attachment to the world of materialism, that we are easier to, you might say, discipline ourselves. We find it easier to practice a discipline, that our attachment and aversion to external objects weakens. And as we travel the path, it eventually disappears. And so with discipline, our lives go better. We're less scattered. And again, discipline is avoiding harming ourselves and avoiding causing harm to others. And it's doing things that are beneficial to ourselves, and it's doing things that are beneficial to others. So since in generosity, we developed the desire to not harm others, discipline means that we will gradually engage in more and more virtuous actions and less non-virtuous actions. And as we do this, we find that our enthusiasm develops and increases. And that is related to the fourth paramita of enthusiastic effort or diligence or exertion. So we want to continue and do more and more. We want to engage in more actions that are beneficial to ourselves and others. And we find that this discipline is not a burden, that there's a certain happiness that develops from this discipline. And last week I talked about patience, which is being able to experience difficulties in the mundane world, difficulties with difficult people, and then difficulties with our practice, but persevere and continue and not get discouraged. And again, this leads right into diligence. With diligence, of course, we become more generous, we become better disciplined, and we become more patient because there is this enthusiasm about it. So diligence is helpful both in the mundane world and with spiritual activities. In the mundane world, with spaciousness and acceptance, which comes from discipline, patience, generosity, and so forth, that we accomplish our goals. You like what you do, and you may even love it. I've met two people. One is the man that mows my lawn. Since I've injured my shoulder, I'm not supposed to be on a riding lawnmower. It would be too stressful using the steering wheel. The other is my physical therapist, and both of them have said that they love their work. The physical therapist said that the only thing that makes her work is the paperwork. Otherwise, she wouldn't think she actually had a job because she loves what she does so much. And quite honestly, it's obvious. And this is the way it is in the mundane world. If we really have enthusiasm and like what we do, that obstacles, being tired, difficulties are no problem. It isn't that these two people don't have problems and difficulties in what they are doing, but they like what they are doing, they enjoy it, and they find it pleasurable. And so this really helps things go very smoothly at work, this type of joyful exertion. Without it, then you have aversion, resentment. You get tired easily, and so forth. I found working in the prison that the people that did the least amount of work were the ones that complained the most. And the people that worked diligently were usually happy doing what they were doing. And so this is the way it works. You really have a choice. Are you going to be lazy and unhappy, or are you going to be diligent and get some enjoyment out of the mundane world? In the spiritual sphere, when we practice with joy and regularly, we don't have many problems with practice. If we do, we seek help from a Lama. That with diligence, we feel fortunate and good to be able to practice. I lead Myungnes here at my center. I lead them at other places. At my center, I frequently will lead 8 in a row. That's a total of 17 days of retreat. And at the end, instead of feeling exhausted and worn out and everything, people usually feel invigorated. And I frequently lead just a single Nyungne. And again, the people that attend usually have similar feelings. It might be difficult during the retreat, but at the end of the retreat, they feel energized and feel good and feel that it was worthwhile, and frequently come to the next one or one a little bit later. So any kind of practice that we do, whether it be retreat, meditation, chanting White Tara, doing Nundro, and so forth, it's really good to feel how fortunate you are while you're doing the practice. Exert yourself and don't complain. And the practice of Dharma needs to have even greater diligence than mundane activity if we really are to have good results. And there is another point about diligence, which I'm going to get into, but I want to stress it right now, and that is habits. That what we are doing as we travel the path is we are weakening our negative habits and we are strengthening our positive habits. Eventually, when we get close to the end of the path, which is complete Buddhahood, we then have to discard even our positive habits. But right now, what's important for us is to develop positive habits and weaken our negative habits. And so this is what diligence does. There are three types of laziness. And diligence directly addresses these three types of laziness. So the first type of laziness is what I call couch potato, where it's just you don't want to do anything. You find it hard to get out of bed in the morning. If you set the alarm, and you probably don't, when it goes off, you shut it off and you go back to sleep. And before you go back to sleep, you think about how hard the day is going to be, or how hard your life has been, or how bad it is, and on and on and on. The second type of laziness is mindless compulsive busyness, where you just keep busy in doing various activities, many of which are ultimately meaningless, but they might seem to be important at the time. But the problem is that you're wasting your time, and it's keeping you from practicing the Dharma or accomplishing a lot of other things. Both of these are types of procrastination, just putting off what needs to be done. So diligence works with these first two types of laziness. I guess I should talk a little bit about the third type of laziness, and that is selling yourself short, self-deprecation. It's kind of a false humility. It is, oh, I couldn't do that. I'm no Milarepa. I just couldn't do that, so there's no point in me even trying. I'd be wasting my time. And so you don't even try. And as a result, you have no results. So the first aspect of diligence is consistent and regular taking care of your responsibilities and your commitments. both your mundane commitments and responsibilities and your Dharma commitments and responsibilities. I'm following the book Dharma Paths by Khenpo Karthar Rinpoche, and on page 176, he says this: if we are responsible and trustworthy about our commitments, we will do our work every day without excuse or complaints. And this, again, is about developing positive habits. If you'll notice, he says, doing our work every day. That if you are this type of person in the mundane world, then others will come to respect you. If you do this in on the Buddhist path, again, other people will come to respect you, even if they don't know what you're doing, because you can't keep the results of practice bottled inside. It becomes obvious. And by doing this, that is having these positive habits of showing up every day, taking care of your responsibilities and commitments, then over time you will accomplish quite a lot. So this is the antidote for procrastination. Now, Rinpoche talks about the remedy for this couch potato laziness. And this is a classic remedy. I don't know how far back it goes. It could go back thousands of years. I've read it in many different places. And that is that if you are sitting and a poisonous snake falls in your lap, you get up and do something about it. You put some space between you and the snake. And that is the remedy for this couch potato laziness. Literally, just do it. Come to understand that thinking about it doesn't accomplish anything. And you can actually come up, since we all have very active minds, with a whole list of reasons about why you shouldn't get out of bed or get up off of the couch or get up from the table after eating or whatever. We get very, very conceptual. But doing nothing never solves any problem. It doesn't work. It doesn't get you anywhere. And tomorrow, then you wake up and it's tomorrow has become the day before, the past, a replica of it. And it's actually easier to get up when the alarm goes off than to think about why you need to stay in bed. It actually takes a lot of work to be a couch potato. That's one reason why couch potatoes are so tired, because they've been working so hard mentally that they are exhausted. Now, the second type of this laziness or this procrastination is busyness. And that is our life gets overtaken by entertainment, other compulsive activities, shopping, cleaning, social media, YouTube, surfing the web, socializing, materialism, job, you name it, anything, many very good things if taken to excess or compulsive, are used to keep us from doing what we really need to do to distract us. So what this does is it keeps us from practicing regularly, or even it can be taking care of our mundane life. You get so busy with this type of laziness that you don't have time to reflect on what is going on, what you are doing, the value of what you're doing. You don't have time to reflect on what a mess your life is. That's one reason why you keep busy, is so that you don't dwell on these thoughts, which are really anxiety producing. You have these nagging thoughts that keep arising, and you have to keep busy to keep them buried. So, of course, part of the remedy is to learn to not be afraid of these nagging thoughts that keep coming up. Instead of trying to bury them with busyness, actually look into them and see what's going on, get to know them. So we need to contemplate what activity that we are engaged in is meaningful, really meaningful, and how much do I need? Is there anything I'm proud of? Rinpoche says, ask yourself that. Anything that I have done in my life that I am proud of? And of course, in these contemplations, always include impermanence about what you have accomplished. How permanent is it? I have talked to a few of my friends that are, let's say, in my age group. And one of them is a professional. He's a professional social scientist, and he has done all kinds of studies. He headed a nonprofit organization that did research on the efficacy of grants that foundations would give organizations. And so he has all these studies that he did. And well, they were very valuable, and he was a good scientist. He has confided in me that they're too good to throw out, but who wants them? He's got stacks and stacks of this information. Think about what's on your computer. Is there anything on there that is worth saving after you're gone, other than perhaps for tax purposes or settling an estate? So then think about why you took refuge in the three jewels and the importance of the three jewels and what refuge really is. And then what is important at the time of death. And perhaps what benefit you have already experienced from your contact with the Dharma and your study and practice. Temporarily, the Dharma, if practiced properly, will decrease our anxiety and increase our peace of mind and contentment. And ultimately, of course, the Dharma will free us from samsara. because of these benefits, it's actually more important to practice the Dharma than to be a great success in the mundane world. So these patterns of procrastination are destructive. Rinpoche uses the term seductive and delusional. That what most people are doing is literally doing time. Keeping busy or staying on the couch until they're gone. Killing time is another phrase that you hear from time to time. And time is so precious because once it's gone, it's not coming back. We can't reuse time that we have wasted and squandered. So to continue here, diligence helps us accomplish things smoothly. That a diligent person carries out their responsibilities, has a certain dignity about themselves, is composed and collected. They look healthy. They appear to be confident, and they're cheerful. Lazy people, on the other hand, have plenty of anxieties. They can be difficult people to be with. And they may have from time to time personal crises. So it really is important for us to develop this habit of diligence. Now, the other aspect, the third type of laziness which diligence remedies, is self-deprecation, unnecessarily underestimating ourselves. So this type of diligence is called respect for our capabilities. First of all, we all have Buddha nature, that our potential, and that's what Buddha nature is potential, is just as good as a Buddha's. You could call Buddha nature a seed that is destined to sprout when the right conditions are present. So our Buddha nature is just as good as anybody else's. And there are people in the extended KTD Sangha who have traveled the path to some extent and are very knowledgeable and are accomplished to a certain extent. And it is because of diligence that they were able to accomplish this. So again, this is to remedy this self-deprecation, thinking others can do it, but I can't. It's sometimes called a poverty mentality. This approach that there's something about me that is lacking, that is missing, and there's nothing I can do about it, so I'm not going to try. So we need to respect our potential and our capabilities. The reason why people feel this way about themselves is they don't understand their potential. And they don't understand that it is, if they're on the Buddhist path, that it is their lack of diligence as is the reason why they have not had better experience, or shall I say more progress as they practice and study. So this mentality keeps us stuck with no progress. As I said, every day is just a bit like the other because we don't try. And if we don't try, it doesn't happen. Here's a quote from Khenpo Karthar Rinpoche. All the favorable conditions are available in terms of our potential, the path, and the fruition. All we need now is to get moving. So that is the antidote for hesitation, and that is to get moving, to do something. And it is not just about doing anything, but it is seeing clearly and understanding what needs to be done and setting out to do those things. In terms of the spiritual path, a common sequence is to begin by meditating and attending teachings and reading and so forth. And and take refuge, of course. And then when you feel inspired to talk to your teacher about Nundro. And then there is taking the Bodhisattva vows and entering the Bodhisattva path and following the 7 points of mind training the best you can in post-meditation. Meanwhile, maintaining a regular practice at home. And if your practice is meditation, then doing meditation. If your practice is Nundro, then doing Nundro. And do them on a regular basis. So this is about diligence. I want to finish up by talking a little bit more about this in a different way. That we have plan A and we have plan B. What diligence is when plan A doesn't work, you develop a plan B and you keep trying. If you're having difficulty in your practice, diligence is then seeing a Lama and talking to the Lama about the difficulty and trying to work through it with the Lama, perhaps adjusting the practice just a little bit in one way or another. So I was thinking as I was preparing this talk about the difference between an amateur and a professional. Because diligence is, you might say, what a professional would apply. And so I Googled this, and this is what I came up with, which I kind of like. I think this really fits in with our Dharma practice, as well as our mundane life. And this is the 4 differences between amateurs and professionals. The first is amateurs wait to feel inspired. Professionals stick to a schedule. Now, it might be that you're going to have to break the schedule from time to time. It might be that instead of practicing in the evening after supper, that you have to practice another time during the day because that slot is filled with something else. Point number 2 is amateurs focus on goals. Professionals focus on habits. And again, that's really a very important point of this exertion here. This diligence is that we are working on developing positive habits that will propel us along the path. And of course, reducing and eventually eliminating negative habits that are obstacles and block us. Point number 3 is amateurs strive to achieve, professionals strive to improve. So we're practicing to improve, to be more diligent, to purify our negative karma, to develop positive habits, and so forth. We're not trying to achieve some fantastic spiritual experiences. The fourth one is amateurs stall after failure. Professionals grow after failure. So with diligence, when things don't work out, you look at it, you analyze it and see, is there a way around this obstacle? Is there a plan B or a plan C? And so forth. So all of this has to do with, as I said, enthusiastic effort or diligence.